Good morning and welcome everybody. Thank you for registering and tuning in for today's webinar, which is all about hotels and the way that guests have adapted to the new normal with technology. We're talking for just 30 minutes today. It's 11 a.m. It's Thursday, the 26th of August. I'm Jane Pendlebury, the CEO of HOSPA, the Hospitality Professionals Association. I'm delighted to be joined today by Julie Grieve from Criton and also Richard Harrison from Coombe Abbey. We are just talking for half an hour today, but we will hopefully have a little bit of time for questions towards the end. So there is a tab in your GoToWebinar app. So please just pop any questions in there if you'd like me to pose those to either Richard or Julie. If we don't get around to answering your question, we can get back to you afterwards. So please just go ahead, even if we're running low on time. A summary of key points will be available on the HOSPA website within 24 hours or so. So thank you for joining us. I'm going to start today by asking Julie just to talk about some research that's been recently undertaken by Criton. So Julie, I'm going to hand over to you. Thank you.
Thanks very much, Jane. And I'm sharing my screen. Can everyone see it? Yes?
Yep, seems so.
Yeah,
no messages to the contrary.
Great. Okay, so yes, Criton did some research. We do research every year, and it's really because we see a big part of our role is making sure that we're not just giving hoteliers what they want, but of course that's important, but we spend a lot of time thinking about what guests want, because our role is to make sure that we help operators navigate what guests are looking for from digital, so that we're able to help them deliver that. And so the research really runs every year, and it forms part of our roadmap. It helps us gauge what it is that guests are actually looking for when it comes to technology in hotels. And we ask other questions as well. And we ran it as normal earlier this year, and we had 5,500 responses. But due to COVID, we thought it'd be interesting actually to run a separate round of research to see if there had been any changes, and we ran that throughout July, just short of 3,000 responses. So we've got a really good data set here of what it is guests are looking for when it comes to technology. I'm only going to run through a few of the statistics that we found, but you can download this from our website if you want more details. So we started off talking about how they were feeling basically since the pandemic, and what would help them to travel. And we found that 75% of the people said that hotels should have a clearly defined cleaning standard that helped them understand how they were protected against COVID. That's no surprise. We've seen since really since May time a lot of people really focused on how they can communicate the changes they've made to their cleaning regimes, and of course the chains have been all over this. But I think it does reinforce that somehow you're going to have to tell your guests what it is that you're doing differently. We asked guests if they were happy to touch everything in room, and I think there is always some chat about probably more internally than there is externally, but around about things that guests touch and whether they're happy. And really they said that as long as part of the cleaning standard was that everything was disinfected, 67% would be happy to touch everything in room, which is great. And again, if you're telling your guests how you're cleaning, then basically they're happy to get on and engage fully with the room. An interesting statistic, 42% said that they would expect a hotel to replace complimentary toiletries whether they're used or not. And I think there's some very good best practice examples of hoteliers putting these toiletries in separate areas, and guests being able to help themselves, that sort of thing, so that you're not increasing waste and all that sort of thing. And then 53% of respondents said they would still prefer to eat in a hotel restaurant, followed by 18% who would use room service. Now, when it comes then to the use of technology, sorry, I'll just click something, there we go. We talked firstly about check-in and check-out. So 62% said they would prefer to check in and check out through a hotel app. And the use of public kiosks had come down to 8% and then 30% saying that they would check in and out through a web page. From our perspective, I think the big focus really to look at this is that if you can engage with a guest and explain to them that they can check in and out through your hotel app, what more can you do with it? So from our perspective, it's great to see this. You would expect me to say this. Of course, we think that this will continue to grow. And when you look at the following slide, the big change there was that it moved from 73% of people happy to download a hotel app that would allow them to check in and out and get all their information to 80% in August. So that's now 4 out of 5 guests are happy to engage using the hotel's app. And 73% of them would use an app that enabled them to open their door. And again, that had gone up from earlier in the year. 47% would be likely to order room service if the hotel would give them the option of ordering via an app. And that is a slightly different question, but I think it does show that there's still some reticence for people in terms of how they go about ordering room service. So if you make it easy for them, then they're more likely to use it. So not much more to say, Jane, apart from that, you know, the use of technology is ultimately growing. And I say this, it was there before COVID. So before COVID hit, 73% of guests were happy to use an app, and that has gone up to 80%. And so from my perspective, I think the big question that we've got to ask ourselves as hoteliers is, if that's what they want, how can we make it work for us? And that's really where the use of apps can come into their own, because not only can you offer a fully contactless journey, but you can use it to make sure that they have all the information they need. And also you can use it to help them buy more. And I'm sure we'll talk about this further, but that whole domestic market, incremental spend, making sure that if you've got someone in your hotel, they're aware of everything you're doing and helping them spend their hard-earned cash, I think will really stand hoteliers in good stead, given that we've seen, you know, a significant decrease in international spend because of the lack of transport. So that's all I'm going to say on that, Jane. As I say, I'm happy to take questions on it, and also I'm happy to you know, talk to folk further about it, and I'm sure we'll discuss it just now.
I'm sure we will. No, that's very interesting research. Thanks very much for sharing that. This might be the ideal time for Richard to tell us a little more about Coombe Abbey for those that are listening and watching today that maybe don't know the lovely hotel that it is. And then also, perhaps if you could, once you've done that, Richard, go on to explain a bit more about your decision to work with Criton and how the implementation of an app has really helped during, you know, post the COVID lockdown.
Yeah. Okay. So for anyone that doesn't know, Coombe Abbey Hotel is we're 121 bedrooms. We are set in a 500-acre country park. We have a very, very diverse business mix. We do everything. Obviously, strong wedding business. We conference banqueting. We have our own medieval banquet chambering and our own acting troupe as well. So we're quite a diverse business. Adding to that, we also operate 3 cafe outlets, a pub, and a Go 8 course within the park as well. We do a lot of different things. So obviously, the decision to go with an app. Julie will remember this. Julie and I were talking for probably 8 months on this, and the hold up for us was that we are a very traditional style hotel, and I was struggling, and my management team was struggling to see how an app would fit in with what our guests expect from a food service hotel type environment. I think we got to the point where we were looking to say, yes, let's move this forward. And then COVID happened, and as I'm sure Julie will back up, everything happened very, very quickly. I think we had a conversation early June, and then probably were live by the first week of July. And the decision for us was very much how can we give our guests the option to do something different and not talk to a member of staff. We didn't want to take away the ability for them to do what they've always done at Coombe and talk to staff, check in traditionally, but we wanted to give them the option if they weren't comfortable. And from For us, it was very much about how do we instill confidence in our guests from day one of reopening the doors. So we, I suppose, boldly said to Julie and the team at Criton, yes, we'd like the app, we'd like the guest directory service, we'd like the in-room ordering and the messaging service, and we'd also like to upgrade our box and have the ability for guests to open their doors with their mobile phone, and we'd like it in 5 weeks, please, if that's at all. Which it turns out it was. It's just very much about easing that guest journey for us, and what we've seen, probably surprising even me, a tremendous uptake on it. So we have, as I said, we have a broad client base in normal times, but we're seeing already that people are engaging with it. They are downloading the app, they are using it to open their room, they are using it to have a totally seamless journey through the business. They're ordering their room service, they're asking for extra towels, they are very much engaging with it. I suppose the other great thing for us, I mentioned before, the park itself has about 350,000 visitors a year, and actually the ability for us to get some of that market to download our app and then be able to communicate with and let them know what offers, what we're doing in the outside bars, what special offers we have on in restaurants, in our cafes, in everything that we do, was absolutely key. And again, we're starting to see people that didn't know about Coombe or didn't know what the breadth of what we do starting to engage with us. Does
that's
that
brilliant.
cover
Yeah,
where we are?
that's a great summary. And the questions are coming in, not necessarily about the tech so much as did you take other bits, lots of stuff out of the room that you were able to put up onto the app? Like
So
guest directory, I guess, would be the obvious one.
So I mean, the main drive of this, and I first met Julie, interestingly enough, at HOSPA in 2018, I think it was.
Yeah.
And actually the big drive then, the thing that caught me, was actually the removal of guest directories and printed materials from bedrooms. So yeah, we've taken all that out. We've taken room service menus out. We have taken guest directories out. The only thing you will see in the room now is actually, funnily enough, a card asking people to download the app, and just that point of please use this functionality. I suppose the other great thing is, because like a lot of hotels now, we are not cleaning rooms for stopovers unless requested, is actually that ability for somebody to request a clean or request more towels, more shampoos. We alluded to it before, and we're seeing a real spike in people using that to say, can I have some more stuff in our room, some more tea and coffee, whatever it may be.
And have you found different types of people are keen or less keen to use the app? Someone is wondering whether someone like their mother would actually download it. Have you got any first-hand experience of that?
I don't think we've got, and Julie may correct me here, I'm not sure we've got any data on that demographic wise at the moment, because we are, we're still moving through this fairly rapidly. But certainly from what we've seen anecdotally is that there is a fairly even split on people do it. I think we underestimate times whether our more mature guests, let's say, the ability to or will want to use the app. But I think what we're seeing is that they're far more tech savvy than we perhaps give them credit for. And it's fairly simple to use. If you can use Google, you can check yourself in and open your door.
Brilliant.
And I think, Jane, I was just going to say, as Richard said, the sort of older generation now are all more tech savvy. They've all been using their phones and their devices to speak to their family, but they're also more likely to be perhaps a bit higher risk or shielding. So one of the things that really came to the fore when we were working with Richard was we had a lady who was checking in a couple of weeks ago, and she had been shielding, and she was coming to spend time with her family, but she was concerned about being in the hotel, and it felt, I mean, it just felt so lovely to be able to help, but that she could still come and enjoy the hotel and the services, but reduce that anxiety level. So I think a lot of this is about being able to offer your guests the choice of how they engage with the hotel, but still enjoy it.
And somebody else is asking how do they get their hands on the app? So Richard, prior to guest days, do you send a QR code? That's the question really. Is it through a QR code, or is it a link that you send them?
So we pretty much on every piece of contact we have with the customer now, we will say, please download the app before you arrive. We've added it all to our email footers for everybody through the business, including myself, just to really push that. And again, on check-in, if somebody hasn't picked it up at that point, the receptionist will mention it to him, say you can download the app. And again, I suppose the real hook for me, and I was walking through the lobby the other day, it was yesterday, and I was speaking to some ladies that were, they were asked the question about booking dinner and things like that. And actually, once I said to them, actually, you do know you can download our app, and then actually you will receive notifications on any special offers or special events we're running. And actually, it clicked straight away, and they were like, oh. And actually got their phones out and started doing the process there and there. So I do think it's just about that signposting, and people are used to downloading apps now. If you tell them, there's an app available, they'll just go off and find it.
Yes. Julie, I was going to say, do you have any stats on uplift on whether people are spending more? Because I can imagine what Richard just said there about the offers. I can imagine if I had an app on my phone and something pinged in, say if you go to the bar now, it's 2 for 1 or something like that. Are you able to monitor that?
Yeah, we can track click-throughs, and we also work with our clients to make sure that they are seeing the spend via the app coming into their Google Analytics, so the goals are tracking all of that. I mean, we've got a hotel in Scotland who is using the food and beverage ordering, and I mean, it's mad, completely and utterly mad. Because they've got outside dining, they've got these amazing pods, and they were very concerned about how that would go down. And actually, when you now look at their TripAdvisor reviews, people are talking about you can order on the app, it's dead easy. This whole not having to go to a bar, not having to get someone's attention is really going down well. So I can't give you a specific uplift because it's different across all of our hotels, but we're definitely seeing it. And we're just at the early stages of this because we've got a lot of hotels that have come on recently, getting the app, like Richard said, starting to signpost it, getting the downloads, and then starting to do the Geofence push notifications, which means it's really relevant and timely, right? You're stay in the hotel and you're getting information about the hotel. So that's going down really well.
Yeah, so you mentioned the geo link there. So does that work that if they're on the golf course or on a remote part and there happens to be something around the corner, it would just alert them to a cafe or a place where they can pick up a coffee or something like that? Is that how it works?
I mean, the great thing about it is it's really entirely up to the operator how they do it. You can draw your geofences, and then if someone breaks, I mean, I'm doing this because you do it on a computer screen. You would circle the hotel or golf course or Richard's Go Ape or that sort of thing. But I think you can also, one of the ways we're seeing people use it is this domestic travel and getting people to come back. We know that if people have a good experience and they're probably within a couple of hours drive, you can circle your places they're more likely to come from and send them specifically an offer. So driving that kind of last minute business. And I don't think in August that's really been a problem for hotels like Richard. Obviously city centre hotels are struggling a bit more, but I can see that that's really going to drive business as we go into the perhaps quieter times where you can get people to come back because they feel safe. They're like, I've been there, I know they're doing everything, I'm confident, and so I'm going to go back and spend the weekend there because I've not spent all my money going away abroad.
I guess also that could be useful just for the local community if you want your local community just to come to use the Go Ape at Coombe Abbey, or just have dinner or use the bar or whatever else, spa facilities if you've got some last minute appointments. That could be really useful for all of that as well. All right, I'm just looking through these questions. Well, I think I know the answer to this, but I'll ask you anyway, Julie. So once a guest has downloaded the app, say they're at Coombe Abbey and they download the app, if they then go to another hotel that's enabled with the Criton tools, the Criton technology. Is it another download? Is it unique to Coombe Abbey? It is, yes. So they would have the Coombe
Yeah,
Abbey app, and then.
and that's just comes from my background, because I was running a luxury 5-star service partner business. I wanted to build my brand, and so when I started Criton, the goal was to help independent hotels build their brand. And so there are systems you can use where you're part of another group, but I wanted our hotels to have their app on their guest phone, like Hilton and Marriott do. And you know, we've seen, I mean, as Richard said, people are downloading apps right, left and centre here. It's not really a big deal, but more importantly, people keep the app, you know, because their phones are bigger now. They don't need to worry about space on their phone and deleting it. So then you've got this ability to re-engage with them directly on their phone, and it's not an email amidst lots and lots of other emails.
Yes, yeah, and useful when you're on your way to the hotel and realise you haven't printed anything off or taken anything with you. It's all there on your phone.
Exactly.
So someone's asking here a question for Richard about communicating. So this is again veering off the tech side a bit, but using the app, I guess, to communicate your cleaning standards. The comment is that they don't, and I've said this actually before as well, that hotels don't seem to be shouting enough about what they've done differently, cleaning wise. When you mentioned the non-cleaning of rooms if people are in-house, and you'd like to think that that frees up housekeeping to give them more time, you know, post-stay in preparation for the next stay. But are you using the app to shout about your new cleaning standards and reassuring your guests that you've made some changes?
We haven't actively on the app yet. We've taken the focus to actually get that up onto our website and actually do that COVID secure piece there, and you know, the uplift in public area cleaning and the regularity of touch points and that being cleaned, and you know, what we expect. So it's probably the next stage for us is to say, okay, what else can we upload on the app? Because the danger is there's a lot of information on there, which is great, but also if we're not careful, we get information overload to guests as well. So I think, you know, we're very much pointing people towards our website and the page on our website to say, look, see what we're doing. That said, message facility on the app does allow us to communicate with customers when they have a specific question and concern. And you know, Julie mentioned the guest a couple of weeks ago who clearly had a concern and wanted some reassurance, which we were able to give.
Great, that's good. And digital keys, another one. You mentioned there that you're using the app along with your door locking system to, I think you said that at the beginning, didn't you? The question is, does it work well? So fingers crossed that that's a positive answer.
Oh, yes, it does. I mean, we've not had, to my knowledge, and you'd probably be better asking, you know, the team in the hotel, but to my knowledge, and there's certainly nothing come back to me that we're having any challenges with it at all. I was talking with our marketing manager yesterday, who's kind of spearheaded it from our side of things, and she was saying the amount, and I'm not sure whether she was impressed with it or saying that actually it took a lot of time, but the amount of testing and retesting the team at Criton, the team with the lock provider and us did on, does this work? Let's check it works. Let's check every room. Let's check every room 3 times. Which I think's now got us to a point where, no, it works. I think, yeah, you know, as long as the guest can follow the process and check in with their app, which 99.9% can, then it works. And we're not going away from that service. We still have somebody in the lobby. So if, you know, a guest arrives and saying, you know, actually this is not working, one of the lobby staff can say, well, actually, let's just have a quick look for you and get it sorted. But no, I'm not aware of any issues. I think it seems to be working seamlessly, and I'm looking around for a piece of wood to touch now.
I think the concern is historical, Jane. So there's no doubt that when digital key first came out, it was fairly clunky, you know. But we're talking like 5-7 years ago, and it's much better now. It's slick, it's smooth. When we launch a hotel, we do go through a rigorous make sure it tests, train the staff and then help with procedures to make sure the app is actually embedded as part of their process, because you can have an app, if you don't change your processes to tell your guests, it's not going to work, and you need to get downloads to get value. So we've got a fairly rigorous regime there to make sure it works. And I mean, you know, the Ask Abloy system that Richard's working with is very, very good.
Great. Okay. Yeah. And another just a comment. It's not a question, but that the COVID has sped up an awful lot of things, from technology-wise to people's attitude as well. Not so relevant in a hotel where pretty much your staff have to be there, but people, the whole way of working has changed so much through COVID, and everything's been speeded up, such as the digital key. And just a final part of that earlier question: are you still giving out? Do you give out the plastic keys as well if people don't want to use the app? Are you giving them the option?
Yeah, so we operate. We've got three options really. There's the app where they can do that. We also have some what do you call them, electronic check-in terminals as well in the building, and then we also have the traditional receptionist, as you would have always found at Coombe Abbey, behind the desk, albeit behind a screen now, whereas they wouldn't have been before. So it's, you know, I come back to, I think I mentioned it earlier, for us it was always about and remains about giving our guests a choice. You know, people come to Coombe, like with a, you know, a lot of our you know, our fellow hoteliers, they come for an experience. It's not about that just need a bedroom for the night. It's they come for the experience of the property. So we were fairly strong early on to say we've got to give people options, and you know, that's what I think we've achieved.
Yeah, no, absolutely, and what a great time to actually install it, because when people are, I think, probably at their most likely to download something like that, because that fear of touching is so great. And that takes me back to an event we did actually with Criton, Julie, just before lockdown, when the discussion was very much about TV remote controls, and just how nasty they can be. I think actually your colleague then showed us a picture of one which I've tried to get out of my mind, but haven't succeeded in doing. So,
but I think that sort of thing though is much more internal. In our industry, we're so much more aware of that than guests are. You know, we do navel gaze as an industry quite a lot, and so that is why we were asking those questions. You know, do you want to touch stuff in the room? And as long as the hotel's cleaning it, which they are, then, you know, guests are fine. Don't get me wrong, I'm working with a company now where I want to put a TV remote into that, just because I think some people are quite happy to just always be on their phone. And again, as Richard says, it's about choice. You know, if you don't want to pick up the remote control, or I have a colleague who carries a plastic bag about and puts the remote inside that and it touches it, which is fine, but a bit of overkill really.
yes.
I think the interesting thing, rather than the remote, is actually been the guests ordering things and messaging, because actually they don't have to use the phone then. And what we've seen is people are far more concerned about picking up a handset of a phone, even though we have, you know, we label them, we I'm going to say sticker them, for want of a better phrase, to say that they've been cleaned and checked, and you know they are. But people are far more comfortable to say, well, actually, I can just send a message and get that active, rather than having to talk into something that however many people may have talked into before.
And
yeah,
also
and order, sorry Jane, just to say, and as I found out in a lovely hotel overseas, who I won't name, I had to go to my room to order room service, and I didn't know what was on the menu. Whereas actually you might want to order room service when you're out and about and have it in your room when you get back. It's just, you know, flexibility as well.
I think one of the conversations, Julie, you and I had first time we met was actually the ability, once you're checked in, to order stuff when you're out and about, you know. And I'm sure like a lot of people, you know, when you've got children, you tend to find that you're driving back to your hotel and they want to eat, and they want to eat, you know, when they get back. And, you know, again, that was one of the big hooks for me, having experienced that many times, of going, actually, the kids can look at the menu in the car and we can order it, and it can be back ready in the hotel 5 minutes after we walk back in the door. You know,
and the other great benefit, of course, is for any language barriers as well, on either end, whether it's the person phoning or receiving the order, that it cuts out those language barriers as well, and communication issues. So, which takes us, actually, that was sped by that 30 minutes, but we are now nearly at 11:30. So I just need to point out that the discussion this morning is very general. I know that Coombe Abbey is a beautiful hotel, so definitely worth going to have a look at the hotel if you haven't seen it before going to stay. And I also know that the Criton app has been really well accepted by, I've never spoken to anybody who's not happy with it. So I think both our speakers today have got good products that they're proud of, and we're very grateful for your time. So thank you both. If anybody listening would like to be put in touch with Julie or Richard, just drop me a note, and I will make that connection. We can also connect you to other experts in the industry on different topics entirely if you just have a query that's related to hospitality. We will, as I mentioned at the beginning, we are recording this, so this will be available on the website within the next 24 hours or so, along with a quick summary. So please do spread the word to any of your colleagues that may be interested in catching up afterwards. And on the website, you can also check out our future events, and there's also now a lot more information on our annual conference HOSPA, which is on the 19th of November. So it's now 11:30. Thank you all very much for listening, and we look forward to seeing you all again soon. But that's it for today. Thanks, folks, and bye-bye.